All right, we're back with another Sub CLE. Today we have Dollar Bill Bailey. I don't know if he's going by Dollar Bill Bailey right at this moment, but it's Bill Bailey. He's had Domain Cleveland, did a lot of Cleveland news with bands and artists and stuff like that. But let's just get right into it. Here we go. Bill Bailey, how you doing, man? It's been a while.
Yeah, man, it has. When you hit me up about coming on, I was just like, I don't know, what do I got to contribute? But
you got a lot.
We were having the talk before the talk, and I'm not going by Dollar Bill anymore.
No.
In fact, if I were to bring anything back, because the power of positive speaking and thinking, I'd probably go with Trevor Moment's nickname for me, Diamond Bill Bailey. But,
okay.
No, I'll just be Bill Bailey.
Okay. Yeah, what was it? Dimebag Daryl used to be Diamond Daryl, so I guess now you're going the other way. You're going Diamond Bill Bailey, was it?
Yeah, Diamond Bill Bailey. That's what Trevor would call me at shows.
So you brought these
because a buck really ain't worth a hell of a lot anymore anyway. So why be $1? I sell myself short.
I think you were Dollar Bill Bailey when gas was $1 a gallon.
Yeah.
Now you could be $5 Bill Bailey. So you brought some cigars, I guess. So you went straight edge on us.
I won't say like straight edge.
Yeah.
But I got sober back in March 1st of 2009. I haven't had a drink of alcohol since.
Okay.
I take that back. I've been to Catholic Mass a few times, and but it's the blood of Christ, so I'm good.
Right.
But I just had to. There's just things going on in my life, and I had to make some changes. And I couldn't include alcohol. Still struggle with some other, I guess, forms of addiction, as we were talking about.
Yeah.
The food and the. I've been getting beat up a lot about my time on social media, so I'm trying to take a break from that as well.
Oh yeah.
We find other things to occupy our monkey brains with.
So you brought a cigar. I'm gonna show this, and we're gonna. So you do partake in the tobacco and the nicotine, though.
Yeah, and I don't do this often. I'll usually do it for special occasions, like when I was deployed. It was kind of a habit I picked up after a mission. We'd get together, and we were able to get good cigars over there. And
nice. So are we just going to chew this off?
Yeah,
Is that what we do?
Bite the back end off, and then
because normally you get the cutter. Right?
Cutter, yeah. I can do old school. I didn't bring the cutter. And these were gifts from a friend of mine in recovery, actually.
Okay.
So I'm like, they're not doing anything but taking up space in my
here you go,
my refrigerator. So since I don't drink, I won't be having a drink with you. I figure we can partake, bring a little class to the Sub CLE.
I have my hair of the dog here because I don't know if anyone knows. So it's not on yet, but I had Rob Stevens. Well, by the time this is up, he's going to be up, whatever. But Rob Stevens was over last night, and I'm a little hungover. Rob likes to partake, as do I. I'm not going to blame him.
Yeah.
But, and then we went to the Maple Grove, and I had a couple more. So, and then
you played me a snippet of Rob's song for you, and that's awesome. I think you should definitely make that a part of the show.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have an intro and an outro, as done by and it's gonna be by 100,000 Leagues Under My Nutsack. That's gonna be sweet.
Nice. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and light these things up, man. So you do the whole Boondoggle podcast. Now, you were doing... I met you when you were doing Domain Cleveland. Now, let's just talk about Domain Cleveland a little bit. How'd you get that going?
I don't want to smoke up your room too much.
That's all right.
Here. Well, I'll take you back a little bit before Domain Cleveland, because there will be a Jim Kanye reference in there, and as I've been watching some of your shows, there's always got to be a Jim Kanye.
Yep. For sure. The obligatory Jim Kanye moment.
He's touched so many of our lives, and mine being one of them.
Yeah.
But so originally, I started getting into local music, going out, checking out local bands, and I think for me, maybe it started with, I think I was like, I had a cousin who was really into the local music scene. His brother played in a death metal band, and he died tragically in a car accident.
Okay.
And I had heard of these bands, but I'd never really been out and seen a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to, I was over at my aunt's house, and we were helping. She wanted us to come over and go through his stuff, see if there was anything we wanted or whatever.
And what year was this? What was?
90. Yeah, it was the early 90s.
Okay.
Because I think it was right after I got off of active duty originally from the Navy.
Okay.
But or no, maybe it was.
So you went into the Navy at a young age.
Yeah, I went in right after high school.
Oh, okay.
And stuff. But so I was always a fan of music, and I mean I can even go back further to like when I first started becoming a fan of music and stuff.
Yeah,
but
right.
I want to try to stay on track. So anyway, so I'm going through my cousin's CD collection. There's Integrity. There's Ringworm. There's there's Schnauzer. It was the Schnauzer Escalation Anger,
Right.
and I was just like, wow, what is this stuff? It's like I've heard of some of these guys, and this is before I was friends with a lot of these people.
Yeah.
And so I was like, my aunt was like, you want them? I'm like, yeah, I'll take them. And turns out Jim Kanye knew my cousin Andy James,
Okay.
who passed away, and he used to roadie at shows, and I had wonderful things to say about him, and because I'd shared the story with Jim too. So I started wanting to pay more attention to local music, and there was this band, and it's kind of funny that I'm talking about like Integrity and Ringworm, and I like that music, but then, I was also a radio rock guy, and there was a local band at the time called Deaf Children at Play, and they were getting a lot of radio play on MMS, and so I started going to some of their shows, and then I ended up becoming friends with, members of that band, and kind of was like a merch guy for a little bit,
Nice.
For them, and I was like, this is fun, this is great, out getting a taste of the music scene. I have no talent, I mean, I did like choir in school and stuff like that. I never really learned an instrument or whatever, so I'm doing shows with these guys, and then they end up doing like this 107.9 The End Fest or something.
Right.
Or was it The End, or was it MMS? No, it was The End Fest.
Uh-huh.
And Deaf Children at Play were co-headlining with Mushroomhead. And I'd never seen Mushroomhead before. I heard rumblings, and I'm there with Deaf Children at Play, and then they played right before Mushroomhead, and I stuck around for Mushroomhead, and dude,
Yeah.
it's at the Agora Theater.
Yeah.
So here I am, first time seeing them. They got friggin', and I think Jerry Garcia just passed away because JJ Righteous, who was in Mushroomhead at the time, came out with a Jerry Garcia mask and like wig and beard and everything on, and it's like Jerry's dead, follow the head. They had signs that said Jerry's dead, follow the head or whatever. I was like, let it follow. This is freaking crazy. There's smoke machines. There's the little strobe light.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, J-Man comes out in like a pimp fur coat, and he's got like these two women crawling on dog leashes. I don't know how much that would go over today, but then my young virile self was just like, this is fucking sweet.
Yeah.
And then
misogyny at its finest.
Yeah. And then you see this friggin' silhouette of this friggin' devil horns with fucking the shoulder pads and the white wedding dress on, and you hear this friggin' voice, and I was just like, that was it. I was just like, deaf who? Sorry. I jumped to the Mushroomhead camp after that. I was like, I'm going to these guys' shows. This is more, But so time's going on, and then I want to be more involved in local music. And like I said, I couldn't play any music. I couldn't play any instruments or whatever. But as we were talking about earlier, I just always kind of been able to connect with people. People come into my life. I become friends with them, whatever. And one of those people that I became close friends with was Frank Novinec, who was original guitar player in Ringworm, who now plays in Hatebreed. Okay. And Frank and me ended up becoming roommates for a little while. And while we were living together, I saw his hustle with how much he hustled with Ringworm, and how he got me into all kinds of hardcore bands. He was one of those guys that would sell the VHS tapes of like concert tapes or whatever, hardcore bands. So I'd watch a lot of that and got into New York hardcore and stuff like that. But he would book shows at the Fantasy, and I watched him and saw him book a few shows, and was there alongside, and I was like, this is cool, maybe this is something I could do. So then he ended up helping me book my first show, and my very first show at the Fantasy that I had ever put on, and this was before Domain Cleveland. I brought in Scarhead from New York City as a headliner. They're a New York hardcore band. Through Frank, got a relationship with them, and Ringworm also played it, and Daly, who was on here, who I now refer to as Plantback. That's my nickname for him.
That's funny.
Yeah, and I like to, when you guys were on that episode that you mentioned, that you didn't feel comfortable calling him Fatback.
Right.
And I get that, but I think Plantback is is
and he doesn't mind being called Fatback, but I just never.
But his band, they were still HRH at the time, was one of the openers that I put on the bill to play, and I think Runt was on there.
So you were putting shows together?
Yeah. So I put this show together. I mean, I had a lot of help with Frank, so I'm not trying to, but, and it was, for me being the first show, and then, it's like Scarhead, from New York. It's like, man, if things don't go well, I hope I have some money in the bank, or whatever. But it was a friggin' success. It was nice. Nice. I'd say, I don't know if it was a sellout at the Fantasy, but it was like everybody got paid and I got paid, and then I was just like, okay, this might be something I might be able to do. I might enjoy doing.
So you started out in production.
Yeah, so I started, promoting shows, and at the time it became, and Tony Erba, who I can't believe I'm sitting in the same seat as Parma's greatest.
That's his water bottle he left here.
This was the seat that Parma's greatest natural resource sat in. Tony Erba. I became friends with him through Frank. And I was at a show with my children's mother at the time when we were dating early on. And that whole phase when you're in first dating somebody and you kind of like let them mold you and dress you or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm just the dummy that
I was gonna say I think that usually works. Like I notice like I'm friends with women and then they get a boyfriend and they like totally change. They're like molded a different way. Yeah. You need a lighter.
Yeah. I let that go out with my talking. But anyway, so. I kind of became friends with Tony because Frank knew what a wrestling freak I was too, and saw that, and so introduced me and Tony together. And one time, early on in my dating, when I went from dressing like, Bill Bailey concert shirt, cami shorts, whatever, and kind of wore the clothes she bought for me, and Tony's playing at Speak in Tongues at a show, and I'm out on a date with her trying to impress her, and I'm like, we gotta go see my buddy's band. So fancy schmancy, and then we go to Speak in Tongues. Was kind of, and I walk in there, and Tony and them are on stage getting ready to play, and because I was like, we were overdressed for Speak in Tongues, we totally stood out. Tony had fun with it, and then he was just like, hey, look at Dollar Bill Bailey here. And that's where the nickname came
is it
from.
really? Okay, so, I never knew that.
So Tony started the Dollar Bill thing. And as I was booking the shows, I was just like, well, I like this dollar bill thing. Let's call it Dollar Bill Bailey Promotions.
Yeah.
You know? And so to bring, you know, I'll bring us up to speed with Domain Cleveland, but Dollar Bill Bailey Promotions, you know, it was became like, you know, the Dollar Bill persona almost became like an alter ego type thing, you know, like, so I'm booking shows under Dollar Bill Bailey Promotions. I have a website, you know, I'm just very, you know, as we talked
back
about.
then, the website thing was like a new thing for all you kids out there.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
That wasn't always around when we were kids.
Exactly. And like as we were talking about before we went on about, you know, and hopefully we'll get more into some of the mental health stuff, because I really liked Tommy Schaffner, who I love dearly, and you guys opened up a little bit about that stuff, and I think it's things that people should talk about.
It's important. People feel that,
I struggle with, you know, a lot of insecurities and self-worth issues. I still battle today, but so then I took on this dollar bill persona, you know, to act out somebody who I wanted to be, but I really didn't want to be that person. But anyway, you know, and then in drinking and everything,
it was a way. It was a disguise, to hide behind, you know.
So and I, you know, like I mentioned, you know, when we were talking previously, like Ric Flair. I grew up a Ric Flair fan, so I was like, woo, dollar bills like going to be, you know, Ric Flair. It's all the women, all the wine, all the whatever, you know, with, you know, a lot of credit card debt, you know, trying to be a big shot guy. But anyway, so, you know, the dollar bill promotions thing started. I'm booking shows. I'm doing this and that. I'm talking shit. I'm, you know, acting bigger than I was, but it did attract certain people, and I did get, you know, it did connect me with certain people, and as it started kind of growing and people started wanting to do some of my shows, and you know, Jim Kanye comes into the picture, and we start talking, and Jim's like, I don't like the dollar bill promotions thing, and I'm like, okay, well, he's like, you make it about you, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you know. And at the time, I was just like, screw you. But no, he was absolutely right, being honest. He's just like, you know, because I think I was trying to get Schnauzer to play a show or something. Yeah. And, you know, it's just like, it's just about you. So, and I'm like, you're right, you know. And great wisdom, and I appreciate, you know, maybe then at the time I probably didn't so much because very selfish and self-centered. But at that time, I also started a friendship with Larry Mack, who you know, you know,
I just saw him the other day.
Promote, and he started helping me with the shows. He did built the Dollar Bill website at the time, and he was there and kind of heard it too. And I started working with Doug Esper, and we were like going to be like a team of putting shows and events on together and bringing music in, and even put out a little like CD sampler, the little domain that could type thing, and whatever. But anyway, that was the precursor to say, okay, we got to come up with something else, and Domain Cleveland.
That's cool. So born. It was all like Jim Kanye.
Yeah. All roads lead to Jim Kanye. He's our what's his name? Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon of Cleveland.
Well, in Cleveland, if you're in the music thing, you know, it's 1 degree, I think, with Kevin or
Kanye.
Kanye, So then you got the Domain Cleveland thing going, and then so you were what, like you were contacting like venues and putting together shows. Is that what happened?
Yeah, we were contacting venues, putting together shows. Honestly, at the time, it may have seemed like that it was fun, but I hated it. I hated every freaking moment of
I put together shows. Trust me, dealing with artists and musicians.
Our guitar player. I see you have a scheduled to open, but a guitar player doesn't get off work till like 8:30. So can you move up? You know, and it's like, dude, I'm giving, and a lot of, you know, there was a lot of bands I was giving opportunities to that I probably, you know, if I was thinking of more of a business mindset, I might not even have been having them on the show. But you know, and I'm not trying to talk shit, but you know how it is. You put it on some shows, you know. But I didn't enjoy it, and my nerves and anxiety would get the worst of me. And also I would equate a bad show to a reflection on me.
Right.
You know? Because I think, I think Tony mentioned on the show and a few other people is like, it's your art. You got to, put in the work to promote it as well. Yeah. I would promote the show. Yeah, it was Domain Cleveland show. I would do my part, but the bands need to step up.
Well, a lot of bands think that I'm amazing. Somebody's going to find me. No, they're not.
And I didn't. and I know I get the aspect of people that would make bands sell tickets and to determine their slot.
That was the whole Gorilla Peabody's thing.
I didn't want to be like that. I just wanted you to help. Promote the show and bring people in, but then they're expecting, everybody's kind of expecting the other person to do more of the work. So, it just stressed me out big time. And that's probably when a lot of my drinking and drugging and everything really got crazy, just because I didn't like being under that pressure. What I enjoyed more was when Domain Cleveland kind of started branching out into like music news and interviews.
That's what I wanted to get to, because that's about the time when I think I met you, was when you were doing that. And I think I was in a band, and I think I was probably on some shows that you probably put together. I don't remember exactly, but and then you were doing, because I did some interviews too. You'd send me out to interview some bands or go to Warped Tour or whatever. So you had a lot of connections with that kind of thing. So you were doing a lot of that, which I thought was interesting.
That was fun. Yeah, that I enjoyed. I could look back at my state of mind back then, and like we were talking about earlier with self-sabotaging and poo-pooing things. But you know what? You're right. It was fun. It was cool. And that was, I enjoyed that more than booking shows and being responsible for the turnouts and stuff. Put me on your friggin' guest list, and I'll write a review about your show. Right. Unfortunately, some people back then found out, put me on your guest list, and I'll drink half your beer rider. But
it's cool getting the press passes.
Yeah, getting the press passes. I did. I mean, we had a couple shows where I know when we met and connected. I think you guys played like a Christmas thing for me at Jigsaw one time, because there's still like some of the flyers out there, and you would do the graphic artwork and stuff, and that was great. In fact, Oh yeah. That's a little. How do I get this on here all the way?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. This is your logo and design.
That's right. I try not to make this about me, but
well, I mean, you're providing the outlet here, and like I said, I mean, I where I'm at now, I try and look back and thank everybody that helped.
Well, I believed in what you were doing. I thought it was a cool thing. I thought just bring, it's like we were saying out there, it's the green room, my living room. Yeah. When I'm all about bringing people together, and I think it did. I think for the most part, it brought us together. I think that's a good thing. I thought what you were doing was cool, and that's why I wanted. You say you don't have any talent, whatever. You got the self-defeatist, kind of thing. We could talk about the whole mental thing, if we want to. But you definitely you had a presence. People know who you are. You know what I mean? It's a good thing. I
mean, at some points it might not always have been a good thing that they knew I was there. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to, and I appreciate us talking, especially beforehand, because I'm trying to look back and make this. Like, I don't want to. The old me would have been like, oh yeah, and I do this, and I knew this guy, and I knew, and it's like, I was just a dude that, I guess I just always wanted to bring people together, like you said, and kind of connect with something. I guess I always kind of felt like I wasn't in the in crowd, so I was like, well, I'm going to make a way for all of us to be.
I'd like to say, like, when you were talking about the whole dollar bill persona, and it's almost like you can hide who you really are. You know, being the front man in a band, you know, I don't normally talk about my artistic expressions here, but I always thought being the front man in a band, I always said I wasn't myself. I was this guy that was in this band doing this thing, and it's easy to hide behind that when you're insecure or whatever, you know, because I was completely insecure, but for some reason, when I put on that guitar and I played those songs, I was somebody else. Yeah. I was me, but a different me, you know what I mean? And I don't know if that's good or bad. I see it as it was a crutch, because now I feel like I am able to be myself. You know?
And I'm learning that, you know, now at 49 years of age, to try and be comfortable just being me. Yeah. And like you know, like I said, instead of like looking back and then downgrading, you know, without, you know, I want to, you know, I don't want it to be about ego or anything, you know, or you know, that overinflated like ego, or, you know, pump myself up like I was this, that, and the other. Yeah. You know, I was just, I think in my heart, you know, I was trying to just connect with people. Yeah. I was trying to, like, I was always more of a lyric person in music. Like I said, I didn't have any like musical talent. But I always was attracted to a message, and if it made me feel something, if it gave me something I could connect to, and feel, to take me out of self or whatever. Sometimes I listened to stuff that just brought me down lower, you know, and then years of that, like, love Nine Inch Nails, but man, after breakups, you know, it's probably not always the best stuff to listen to, right? You know,
but it's nice to have something that you can relate to, though, that it speaks to you, like. You're not the only person, you know. It's nice to feel that.
Yeah, and exactly. And as I've learned in the rooms of recovery, which I am a part of now, because we always come in thinking we're uniquely dysfunctional, you know, but there's a lot of other people that struggle with the same insecurities and the same, you know. And so it's nice to not, you know, when we isolate and we're stuck in our own heads, it's like the worst place we could be, basically, to learn that there's other people in the trenches with us battling.
Back to connecting with people, you know.
Yeah. And you know, back to Nine Inch Nails real quick, I'll tell you another story. So they were, you know, when I did try and, like, I want to learn how to play music and I want to start a band and start a project, that was like the first, like, you know, real big influence. Like, I could do this, get a nice keyboard and samples and blah blah blah, you know. And I remember like taking out like a little loan at, I think it was like one of the music places in Parma or something, and I got a Korg X3, you know, keyboard, and I was just like, all right, I'm gonna be the next Trent Reznor or whatever. Dude, there's so much to writing music and stuff. You know, you really got to be dedicated and have like skills, and, you know, I mean, it's with anything. I've always lacked discipline, unfortunately. You know, to stay on something, you know, and it was just like it just collected dust. I was just sitting there collecting dust, but end up down the line, after I acquired a relationship with Mushroomhead, they ended up buying the Korg X3 off me, and Schmutz would use it, and that was like another, you know, relationship builder with me and them.
That's cool.
Back then.
And so, yeah, I mean, I lost my thought, but just, you know, I think making music, it doesn't have to be complicated, but I think you do have to have the background. It's almost like, you know, I mean, you have to know the alphabet to like write a sentence or say a sentence. You know what I mean? And so it's like, it's something like that. But I think like people like Trent Reznor or whatever, I mean, you know, he has all, I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain he grew up in a musical background. And then once you have that, as you know, it's like a language. You just speak it, and if you could speak it freely enough and being open, I think that's what. I think that's. I've always said, you know, we were talking about we're at the cusp of talking about mental health, you know, and I've always said, like breathing. You breathe in. and you keep the things you need, and then you breathe out the things you don't need, you know, and that's how you lose weight too, because the carbon comes out.
Well, I'm holding on to a lot of crap I don't need still in my midsection, man. I need to get rid of that.
And the same thing with your head too. You know, I always said,
it's definitely connected. The brain and the gut's like your second brain.
Yeah, but the thing is, you know, your mind is the same way. You take in, you know, that's why I say a lot of mental problems probably come from. You know, I am no psychologist or anything like that, but therapist or anything, but I see a lot of people watch TV, whatever, and they're always taking in, but they're never expressing out, you know. And I always said that's crucial. It's like you have to breathe out your brain. Your brain needs to breathe out, and whether it be it's something expressive, you know, like if it's music or, you know, it could be a sport or it could be anything that you express yourself.
Like journaling. That's why I think therapists say, you know, journal helps, and you know, which I don't do enough of. But you know, one thing I've been learning on my journey too, they say garbage in, garbage out. Yeah. You know, and my trainer and friend Ray Terry has been on me about, you know, like, what am I putting in? It's, you know, like I do, you know, like I think I mentioned, like, I struggle with friggin', you know, you find other addictions, you know. I might not have been, you know, I had 13 years sober, but I find other things, and I go down rabbit holes, man, and social media has become one. Oh, yeah. You know, and he's kind of called me on that. He's just like, you know, it just sets you on a downward spiral because you're taking in all this garbage, you know, and you're going down this rabbit hole and this conspiracy theory and that, you know, and then, you know, like, I got to release and get out and live life, man. You know? Keep myself in this fear between the ears.
We can come back into that, but I kind of do want to, like, stay with the whole Domain Cleveland. So then you started, how did you build this relationship with, like, record labels, you know, because when the Warped Tour comes in, you get the press passes and, you know, everything. So how did you end up getting into all that?
I'm trying to remember, like, how that originally, like, I mean, I've always kind of been like a, I guess, cheap and a you know, working some sort of angle at heart, you know. And I was just like, man, I really want to go see these shows, but I don't want to pay for them,
right?
You know. And so I guess I think, you know, some of the bands I started becoming friends with would kind of like Mushroomhead being one of them, you know, that they had labels that were interested in them and come along, and I had friends that owned record stores, and one of my good friends used to own this Mindwave record store in Lakewood, and it was more like industrial and stuff like that. He was kind of like, Jack was his name. I called him Jack Manson because he looked like he could have been in Charlie's Family.
Mindwave, where was that at?
This was originally, it was like down near the old, I forget what theater it was in Lakewood, but it was like Madison and all the way down like by Rocky River, that end. Oh, okay. And that's where I first met him. And then we ended up living together for a little bit. Okay. Which was pretty wild. Great dude, though. But anyway, he was dating somebody. She got a job in New York, and then he moved out to New York, and he opened up his record store out in Manhattan. Yeah. And because of our closeness, I was like, I want to go spend time with Jack, you know, and I didn't have no responsibilities at the time, you know, so I drove out there, and I still got like a picture, a photograph when I was crossing the Brooklyn Bridge of the Twin Towers and stuff. Wish I would have actually went to them, but it was just, but anyway.
While we're on it, I was with my dad on top of those 2 weeks before that happened.
Oh, really? Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I was on TRL MTV the same trip. So.
Oh, nice, nice. So I go out there, you know, spend time with Jack, and I stayed with him, and you know, him having a record store, all the major labels were in New York City, so I walked with him to some of the offices. So he would, what's the latest stuff, you know, to supply, you know, so he can get, you know, inventory or whatever for his record store. And I think during this time I was friends with Mushroomhead still, you know, early on the time, and I took a bunch of their like promo They used to have like these original, like black and white promo pictures, and it had like the Mushroom Head hotline on it. And and I took some of those, and I made tape copies of some of their music, and when I went with Jack, I would like hand those to some of the receptionists or whatever at the labels. And I remember Roadrunner was one of the ones we walked into. And I'm not saying, I'm just, it just, hey, I was just that guy. They weren't asking me to do this.
So wait, are you saying you caused the feud between Slipknot and Mushroom Head?
All my fault, all of it. But no, I really liked. I was a big fan of their music and the band, and I was just like, well, since I'm out here, why don't I just drop some of this stuff off?
Yeah.
And like I said, nobody asked me to do nothing. I'm not saying that anything, whatever. But anyway, while I was there, I'm
going to say it. You saw it here first. Bill Bailey is the reason why Slipknot exists. But go ahead.
And anyway, so while I'm there, I'm meeting. I'm getting cards for people at the record labels and stuff like that. And go back home to Cleveland, and I'm like, okay, well, how do I keep these relationships? Like I said, it kind of always boils back down to networking or relationships. And even if I didn't have a business plan or I didn't have any kind of smarts or discipline for some of this stuff, I just was just like, hey, it was more like selfish and self-centered. How do I get into some of these shows for free or meet some of these bands or whatever? But anyway, so then I started building up the Phillips calling you, I think. But anyway, but I start emailing, because we got a website, we got the internet. I'm learning AOL or whatever,
Yeah.
And I start emailing people, and I'm just like, hey, I do this Domain Cleveland, like to review, some of your music that's coming out, So they would also send me advanced copies of promo CDs and stuff like that too. Right. We'd listen to and write a review. I didn't, and I guess everything kind of boils back to me being lazy but wanting to reap the rewards.
Right.
That's when I would start getting people that wanted to go to shows or wanted exposure to free. Yeah, that to write.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, it was. If it was a show I wanted to go to,
I'm going to go ahead and say probably it led to me doing this. Because I interviewed a lot of bands. A few. With you, and then it just made me realize that it's I could do this. And then,
yeah. Wow, man, that's awesome. All the stuff we're figuring out here, because it's and it's making me feel good, to look at the good.
For sure.
But I would start emailing people, and like I said, it may have all been at the beginning selfish and reasoning or whatever.
No.
But I'm also, like I said, I'm a fan of music, and these would be my therapy sessions, going to shows and escaping and enjoying their music. And all I had to do was write a couple paragraphs, on my experience.
Right.
I could do that. And then, like I said, I always there's I guess there's fanboys, which I can still be one very much so of certain musicians or actors and stuff like that. I mean, my kids always hit the fan expos and get our annual family photo now is with whoever celebrity we pick at a fan expo thing to get our photo taken with. But anyway, I always want to know what makes somebody tick, what's behind the curtain, what motivated them or led them to be, what obstacles they've overcome to get to where they're at,
Right.
Where's been some of their lowest points and how did they overcome it? What's some of their... So it's always been about kind of building relationships too. At the beginning, it might not have seemed like that because some of my questions were just ridiculous and stupid, and I was just trying to be friggin', how can I shock the rock stars?
Right. Well, I think Howard Stern was popular probably then in the shock rock kind of thing. Shock jock.
I think my very first interview with Lamb of God and Randy Bly, I mentioned something about having sexual intercourse at room temperature Hot Pockets. Was just one of my pieces of advice I was giving him. I don't know why I thought that would be funny, and I guess it kind of, was. And I brought liquor at the time, that was the extent of my questioning. Now, as like you said, as I've gotten older and still learning about myself, I want to learn. I want to take notes and get tips from other people that may have overcome. Stuff. And somehow it did kind of work, into relationships. I ended up becoming, at one point, friends with Randy. When I was down in, a lot of my Navy training for the reserves would happen down in Virginia, which not too far from Richmond, maybe an hour, two drive. And because of, our, we kept in touch and our friendship at that time, I was down there for a 2-week training, and then it was like on a weekend where it was like going to be a 3-day weekend, and everybody got like a 3-day weekend free pass or whatever. And I could have just stayed on base at my room or whatever, but I was like, Randy, dude, hey, I got this break, and I hang out. And he's like, yeah, come on up, and I stayed at his house with him and his wife, and I talked to her about like and I've always been searching for like holistic ways of getting better and being.
This is a holistic way right here.
Yeah. She was very open about things. And then next thing I know, I'm having this conversation about like, oh, I should try these essential oils. So you're saying, right. Sometimes I like bathing and whatever, for my, to calm me down or whatever,
Sure.
This weird friggin' conversation. And Randy's just like looking at us like, what the hell's wrong with this dude? And then he just came, a new issue of Rip magazine was coming out. For I forget what album was coming out, the one with Walk With Me in Hell, where he shaved his head with redneck on it. Yeah. And he was on the cover, and he had a bunch of they shipped him a couple of them. I'm like, dude, can I get one of those? Will you autograph it for me? Like, yeah, I'll autograph it. And then he writes, quit bathing in women's stuff, Randy, whatever. So I still have that at home. And then I ended up screwing that relationship up with him as time went on because of just being an idiot, insecure idiot with alcohol and addiction issues.
Well, I wanted to actually bring this back to, because you were in the military and you started Domain Cleveland where you're very social. So the two things you said, you lack discipline and you have social anxiety, which is ironic to me because you're a military man and you were doing social things before social media was a popular thing. So it's just kind of ironic that you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it, I've mentioned this in a couple of meetings that I've been in with people too. It's just like I'm somebody that doesn't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
Hate when, like when my parents would tell me as a kid, don't hang out with those people, I would hang out with those people.
Nobody does, though.
I hate being told what to do.
If you want somebody to do something, tell them not to do it.
Yeah. But I went into the military, and I was able to get a career out of that. How does that happen?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, because this is like,
Isn't that a comic strip, Bill Bailey, too, in the military?
Beetle Bailey.
Yeah.
And a lot, this has been, many times this has been told to me. Even drunk and causing an issue and getting in some kind of trouble. Like in the military, there's a couple times I got taken behind closed doors, straightened out, or given a stern lecture, but nothing went into my permanent record to ruin my career and advancements because they saw the potential in me. A lot of people saw the potential in me. I still struggle to see in myself for many years. And there was times where, I would talk. I had this talk with Jason Popson at one time too, because I was out drinking and there's like, there was some chick that was a big fan of his, and he had a lot of those, and then I wanted in on some of the action. So then I'm talking smack. you know, and it got back to him, and I was just like, I know I was drunk, I'm sorry, you know, and he's just like, if you didn't have such a good heart and I didn't like you, man, you know, like, so I got forgiven quite a bit. Maybe it enabled me, I don't know, but I think, you know, my heart, people may have saw my heart a little bit, you know, through the whatever, you know. Like I said, like I was talking to you earlier, you know, if you know, we're to ever get this thing right in my head, because I've been out of dumb luck, been able to manifest so many relationships and connections that, could you imagine what I could do with a positive, self-believing, you know, attitude?
It's true. You know, it's true. Yeah,
but I could manifest that way. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, it's weird, you know, seeing people on the outside and then hearing, you know, like I said, just the irony. You know, you obviously have some kind of discipline because you were in the military and you weren't like, you know, kicked out, and the whole social anxiety thing too is just amazing because you're out there talking to more people than most people talk to, you know, and and you've said it's this self-defeatist attitude, which I think we all have. I mean, it's just what level do you want? Because I think it's healthy to a point to question, you know, what you're doing is right or wrong, but at what level? When does it become a problem? You know, and it seems as though that's what seems to be the issue is your own opinion of yourself. Yeah, definitely. And, you know, back to, you know, okay, the military, and I you know, yeah, there should be a lot of discipline in there, but I was always working some sort of angle. Yeah. You know, I was able to work some kind of angle. And, you know, drinking is very much a part of the military culture. So when I got some drinks in me, hey, man, I believed in myself too. Sure. You know, like a lot. Courage, right? Yeah. I believed in a lot. But, you know, when and so I'm just working on getting in a place where I you know, even 13 years now without drinking, without reaching on any kind of crutch, you know, I'm still working on that place to, you know, and doing things like this and talking about it. Yeah. Well, you have you have your boondoggle domain Cleveland still is happening. You're doing you and Larry. Is Larry still involved with it?
No, not really. Not that I wouldn't want him involved. I love to, you know, I love that dude, man. There's so many stories with me and him and our friendship. And I mean, domain is kind of like it's a thing, but it's like it's more news and interviews and now the boondoggle. Today's boondoggle is the podcast is my outlet for talking with people. It's doing the fun stuff that I enjoyed. It's like when I got sober and when I thought I was done with everything, and there was that shame and guilt phase of like I need to stay away from all this because look at it destroyed my relationship with my kids and my kids' mom, and it was me, and luckily I've been I salvaged my relationship with my kids and everything, but I was like, well, what, I always want to be a part of this thing. I always want to, I'll always love music. I want to always be connected. I always want to build relationships. What can I do? Well, now I can use those connections to get interviews with people on my podcast, and we can have conversations and I love these kind of conversations. I don't just want to say, your album's great, man. And, you're playing this show when, and when's the next album? And, it's like, I understand we have to cover some bullet points, but I also want to know who the person, I want to know about, I'm always open about being in recovery and open and honest about that, and it's made some of my guests comfortable with being open and honest about some of their stuff, and it's opened many doors at me. I've made great friendships now with many guys in recovery in the music scene, and obviously I can't name names because it's an anonymity and everything.
Yeah,
but
right.
man, I'm just like, wow, I can't believe that I've actually having regular conversations with some of these people. And when you're in the rooms and stuff, I'm not like, hey man, you want to come be on my podcast or stuff. It's not supposed to be about that.
Right.
Now, if some of the friendships I've made, they've asked, and I've been like, hell yeah,
right,
come on,
welcoming, and I think that's like, first I'd like to say that there's a lot of people out there that I always said there's two types of people, I mean, obviously there's a spectrum, but just to get my point is, there's always those people that like are depressed or whatever, and it's always somebody else's fault. It's never them, And I always said the only person that you can change is yourself. So if you're blaming someone else, if somebody else is the problem that you're dealing with, you can't change that. It's impossible.
Yep.
The only thing you could change, so you have to accept responsibility, even if it's not your fault. You know what I mean? You have to accept responsibility, just because then you can start looking at things you can change. Because you can't just hope somebody else is going to change.
Yeah.
I say this with people with breakups and stuff like that too. It's like, they're living their life. They're doing what they want to do. You can't change that. You know what I mean?
While I've been on this journey too, it's like
But I wanted to commend you on saying you're like, it's me. You are accepting responsibility.
Yeah.
But I think it gets to a point where it's like, all right, it's not always. There's that.
No, and there is, like, I mean, and I'm not going to throw shade on people, some people in my life, but I've even been told by people that are working with me and my sponsor and people that are working with me in the program, there's like, all right, some people you're not going to be able to make amends to. They're just not going to be able to accept it. They're going to be who they are. What I've realized, too, though, is when I look at their history and their wounds and their hurts, I get a better understanding of why they are who they are, and why
empathy.
I get some empathy that I pray for them and hope that they'll work on themselves, especially if we have, if there's other people being affected by their hurt that I love, but I used to like, and some of these people I would allow to trigger me, like they knew the buttons to push on me, and I would allow, but then I would have to do like a real internalization of like, okay, well, why is if I know who I am today and who I'm trying to be and what I'm trying to do today, why is this triggering me so much? Why is this affecting me so much? This is something I need to still work on with myself, because like you said, it's all about what can I do to change? I can't change them, and if they're going to come at me with these, flaming arrows or whatever, I have to learn to, take it or, process it in a healthier way where I don't get sucked into their whirlwind, I guess.
Right.
Allow myself to be, and I don't get it right all the time. Dude.
No, nobody does.
Right, I still get it wrong quite a bit.
Well, and that's the thing too. It's like, as soon as I start blaming someone else, I'm like, well, even though if somebody totally fucked me, you know what I mean, in some way, I'm like, well, what did I do to put myself in that situation to allow them to do that? You know what I mean? And what can I change at that point? And it's like, because I think a lot of my 20s and maybe my early 30s, like it was a lot of blaming other people, and I think I realized early on that you have to be the change you want to see, but a lot of Eastern philosophy led me to that. But it's but on the outside, I'm saying, for you, it does seem like, and it's nice to hear, like, I think your whole problem, I'm not saying, I don't even think you have a problem. You think you have a problem, but owning the responsibility for it, I think that's it. That's the whole thing right there,
I look at, I was just kind of reminded me of this too. Like, when I was doing the promotion thing, if it was really all about everybody helping bring the scene together and, unselfishly, I wouldn't have made a lot of the mistakes that I made. There was a lot of jealousy. There was a lot of, my insecurity came out when
it's being human.
I think hardcore marketing was taking off around the same time as Domain Cleveland, and they blew up and they're huge. And I was just like,
Where are they now?
Played nice with, I don't know. I played nice with a lot of those guys, but in the inside, I like hated them. I was so friggin' jealous.
Sure.
And, I don't know what Neil Sheehan's doing now. I know he lives in a better house than I do, but that's neither here nor there, I guess. But
you had Guerrilla Productions at the same time too, I think, right?
And that was. But Dan Cole and them to me were a whole nother monster because they owned Peabody's and they had they had so much. They were They had a thing that was successful, and Dan's still hustling and being successful today, and that's great. Dan Jansen was one of the hardcore marketing guys at first, and I kind of knew him a little bit then, but he started doing very well, and I've interviewed him on Boondoggle a couple of times, and I would say I got a good relationship with him today. He's part of the Incarceration Festival, and that thing has grown huge. And I said to him, I was like, man, I remember when we were coming up, and I was just like looked at you like competition, and we're like, competing against each other, and you're doing all the things that I wanted to do, that I first, I guess at the time I wanted to do. And then there was a lot of jealousy and whatever, but you know what? Goes back to that lack of discipline. It goes back to my, giving in to whatever my demons were, my self-sabotage, my drinking, my whatever, not staying focused on the prize, where he stayed focused on the prize, and now he's doing great things. Right. But everything happens for a reason, and now I think maybe I'm doing what my purpose is with Today's Boondoggle, I look back at when my kids were little and I was still like, chasing that dollar bill dragon, and that high of Norm, going somewhere everybody knows your name and feeling important or whatever. I remember many times where there were shows I didn't really need to be going to, and my kids wanted me home with me, and wrapped around my legs crying, and I would look at my ex and say, will you get them? I have to be at a show. Right. It wasn't even my show. Right. I just wanted to go there and then whore myself
you were
out
a young
and be
guy.
whatever.
I mean, that's
I
Dude,
don't like who.
If I had kids when I was younger, I'd be an awful father.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how young I was then. Yeah. I mean, they're 21. Let's see, I'm 49. My oldest is 21. Yeah. My youngest is 18 now. So do the math. I really was. I was young in my head.
That doesn't excuse it, but I'm trying to. You got to take it.
And it's like I have a lot of. I have a lot of regrets for some of those decisions back then, but like I said, my kids are my everything today, and everything happened for a reason, and I got to make those amends, and I still try and make those amends every day with my daughters, and have those, that relationship. And now they're doing their things, and they're making their, and I'm trying to be like, I guess they always say, like, daughters especially always look kind of for somebody that reminds them of their dad when they go into relationships, and fucking keep Dollar Bill Bailey away from my kids, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, I try and be better every day for them, to be a better man, more honorable, and show them how a man's supposed to treat a woman and stuff like that. I still got a ways to go, but at least now they're not seeing that guy anymore,
Yeah. I don't have any children, but like I always said it. Well, I have a couple nieces, they're great, but like I always kind of thought the worst thing in the world would be to have a kid and have it be a female, just because I know how men are, because I'm one.
Yeah, exactly. And like, dude, I mean,
not that I don't think I disrespect too many ladies, but when you're a young, late teens, early 20s, you're not thinking right. No, you're thinking with the wrong head,
Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't always I definitely wasn't an honest person, and I definitely, I was going for what I wanted. Yeah. And that was it. And it took me a long time to finally, it was my daughters that helped me value women. It was like, you were just a commodity, in my eyes back then. You were a conquest. You were, a bragging rights, whatever, sure, with the boys. And then
shoulder candy.
Yeah. And then, my oldest daughter, Bianca, was born, and, I held her and I like cried tears of joy. Yeah. I was like, I was just like, wow, I will die for this person. It wasn't about me anymore. And which is shitty to say because for their mom,
right,
because I wasn't so, I obviously wasn't committed, and, how I should have been. But, there was a lot of, anyway, my daughter, it's like, they say God does for you what you can't do for yourselves. And it's like, man, I didn't want it. I was head over heels in love with my daughter, still am today. But the pull of the scene, the pull of those other drugs, and the pull of the women still would pull me out.
Right.
That, I had to have another daughter, and it's still, it wasn't, I was getting better, and I started trying to be a better person, but it wasn't until like deployment and, basically it was like divine intervention, going to get deployed to dry country. My mind got to dry out, there's no, alcohol and stuff over there. And mine got to dry out. I got to see some brothers go home in a flag draped coffin and have that, reflection in my head. Like, if that were me, what were my girls remember of me? How will my daughters remember me? And that was like a real moment for me. Like, man, I don't want them to remember me how I was. So it's like, come home. It was my relationship with Mushroom had grown over the years. So 216 headlined my going away party at Peabody's, and then they headlined my welcome home party, and it was, should have been like the hero's welcome and blah blah blah, and and it was fun from what I can remember.
Yeah, but
there's a lot I don't remember. My last blackout was that night. I remember just like waking up like the next morning, and my Bianca was 8 years old at the time, and she's like, "Daddy, I don't want to see you like this anymore." I'm over, and I'm like, "I don't want you to see me like this anymore either." And I pinky swore that I would stop. I didn't stop right away, but other things happened in my life, and then I was just like, "Dude, I'm done." And I started going to meetings, and I had to start becoming a different person. My relationship was already pretty much destroyed with their mom. There was infidelity on both of our sides. Obviously with me, almost every time I went out, I was that guy, and her while I was away. And so then I came home to that, and it was just like, dude, they talk about hitting a bottom, and
right.
That was my bottom, and I was like, I'm not going to lose these girls, and I'm not going to screw them up anymore.
No, that makes sense, man. I mean, again, I don't have any children. I can't imagine what it would be like if I had a little girl coming up to me saying, "Oh my God," because I'm hungover from time to time. I'm hungover right now. Rob Stevens, 100,000 Leagues.
Damn you,
I'm
Rob.
blaming him.
Yeah.
And no, I provided the whiskey, so I can't blame him too much. But okay, I don't want to downplay that because I actually do want to come back to that, but I do want to go into the horror movie conventions.
Oh yeah.
So you were involved with that how? Because there was a movie made, and
there was the original one, the horror movie or horror convention massacre one,
which I've never seen.
Joe,
I've never seen because I remember getting a phone call, and this is. I don't know what people think of me. They obviously think highly of me higher than me than I do of myself because
join the club.
I was called and said, "Hey, we're making a movie. We need some attractive females to be in this movie." I'm like, "Well, why are you calling me?" and then that has happened.
Did I call you or did Joe call you?
Somebody called me. I can't really remember, but that wasn't the only time I was ever called for that reason.
Okay.
People are like, "Hey, we're filming a video. We need some." I'm like, "What am I? The pimp? What? I don't know."
Well, I mean, when you were working with the airlines, and you just like, I don't know. I just remember you being around a lot of lovely ladies.
And they're all friends.
Yeah. So Joe, I mean, I would go to the Cinema Wastelands quite a bit. A lot of my friends would go to the Cinema Wastelands, and pretty much, that was back when I was drinking. That was just all we did. They get a hotel room and be one freaking party the whole weekend. It was like my escape from home. And I mean, it great times, man. We had like William Forsythe, I think, was one of the guests one year. He was in some of Rob Zombie's movies, and and he, we had Sam Miller. Shout out to Sam Miller from West Virginia. Freaking love that dude. Became friends with him at these. He would drive up from West Virginia for these conventions. We became friends with him. That dude is like, he becomes friends with everybody, and he became friends with Bill Forsythe. Was one of the guests there, signing autographs, taking pictures. And there was a couple other people, and they ended up in our room partying with us. And it was always such a good time. So my buddies Oz and Blackie and all of them just they became friends with Joe. I always butcher his last name, Joe. I'll call him. But he's the director. He did the Horror Convention Massacre, the first one. And had Uncle Scratch in it, and Blackie was in it. Hot Carl was in it. Yeah, that's how I became friends with Hot Carl too.
Yeah, I think that's where I met him too.
Yeah, so then they decided. I guess it was pretty successful, so they wanted to do a sequel. Yeah, and that's where I got asked. To be, hey, we're doing a hotel party scene. Like, I'm good at those. Yeah, so go there and do that. And I don't know. Maybe I did call you because that was around the Domain Cleveland time we were working together or whatever. I was like, hey, come here and bring, Yeah. Because I do remember you did bring an attractive woman, and I think I started like making a fool of myself with her. But yeah. So then we were extras in that hotel room, whatever. Yeah. I don't know what happened to your thing. Is it?
It's still going. It's
just the lines went away.
The first time I did this, I was like, "What's going on?" No, but I think after an hour, it changes.
Oh, it goes to the next. Getting nervous here.
No, it's fine.
Still learning all this stuff myself. But,
well, you can pick my brain. You can call me up anytime. Ask me.
For sure, man.
Not that I'm
definitely. Definitely will. But so that then you came down for that, and I think did I even get Popson to show up or something?
I don't know. I know there was some like paid actors. I was like, wait, why am I not getting paid?
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't getting paid either.
No, and then it was like in a
Hot Carl was one of the.
There was a nude girl tied to a bed, and I was like, okay, this seems pretty cool.
Yeah. And then she had like police tape on her. Remember that one? Yeah. It was like, man, she's like, I got to bring you home to meet my mother.
So whatever happened with that movie? Because like I said, I've never seen it. I know that we were a part of it, but I've never seen it.
I believe I still have the DVDs at home, copies of, yeah, because then when we were doing the sequel, there was this one chick, Natasha Talens, I think was her name, was blonde with like very big boobs, and she was hanging out at the Cinema Wasteland, and I was just like, oh, I gave her a Domain Cleveland shirt. I was like, whatever, and I think I think Steve Eggs. I mean, I'm not gonna things I didn't see. I'm not gonna say, but from what I understand, like it's just like, I don't know, man. God's got a sense of humor, but from what I understand, like Steve Eggs is hung like a hog. So
he's not the biggest guy.
He does the wristwatch.
Yeah.
Move. Which,
yeah,
and I'm just like, that's freaking amazing, dude.
It's always amazing, when you hear about these smaller guys. I mean, he's not small. He's like, whatever, but he's not a very large man.
Yeah.
And to hear these guys are hung, I'm like, what happened to me?
Not outside the pants, but.
Hey, Steve Eggs. All right, I didn't know. You have a big dick, I guess.
Very, very good for him.
So, are you still involved with the Cinema Wasteland stuff? Do you do any? You go to those?
I haven't been to, like, I mean, I would go, like, because my friends still go, and I'll go like when I know I'm going to be able to see like everybody the same night and hang out.
Cinema Wasteland is like a horror movie convention that's here in Cleveland. Does it tour around? I don't know.
No, just over in Strongsville or whatever. Yeah. I personally, I mean, I don't know. I back in the day, it seemed like they were able to like bring in like guests that I really wanted to see and meet, And now it's just like the zombie who had his head chopped off at the helicopter in Dawn of the Dead, or the zombie that stumbled by in the mall, and I'm like, that's cool, but can we? Who's the main characters? Can you meet any of the main people anymore? So I don't know. You would
have the Trauma, you'd have.
Yeah. And I partied with the Trauma people back in the day, but. I haven't really done the Wastelands so much anymore. Like I said, I big comic nerd. So when the Wizard World was coming to town and stuff like that, the Comic-Con, now it's Fan Expo Cleveland. Mm-hmm. I remember like this was still when I was still trying to build my relationship back with my daughters. A couple years sober, and they still didn't like me because I was doing other stuff, and their mom was, blah, blah, blah. But I got Groupons for the first Wizard World. I came to Cleveland on a Friday night, and I was like, hey, come spend time with your dad tonight. So I took them to the Wizard World. They didn't want to be with me.
Wizard World is what?
Wizard World's like a big convention of comic books, anime. I'm not really an anime guy. They have the actors, that do the photo ops and the autographs and stuff like that, which I'm more
from like Marvel movies, and DC and stuff like that. Yeah,
like the first year, Michael Rooker was there.
Oh, okay.
Jason Mewes, Fonzie.
Henry Winkler.
Yeah. I'm forgetting, but there's so many that were there. So we went the Friday night. I took my girls. They didn't want to be there with me at first, but then we went and then met Jason Mewes, and he took like 1 million selfies with my daughters.
Awesome.
And then Michael Rooker take a bunch of selfies with him. Sweet. And then we bought the professional photo package with them. And then the girls were like all about it. So every year we go, and we're like, our family photos at my home of our wall is us with whoever celebrity we pick. Like this, cool. This most recent Fan Expo was the cast of Clerks: Kevin Smith, Jason Mewes.
Yeah.
Jay Silent Bob and like Dante and friggin'
that's cool.
Randall, all of them.
Well, because they're promoting the new.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was, and it's funny because my girls haven't even seen these movies. We drove to Pittsburgh and got the cast of Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh, that's
and
funny.
Had a picture with them and William Shatner, and they're like, I don't know who these people are, but
was
Dad
Booger
paid
there?
Picture. Yeah, Booger.
Yeah.
Hung out with Booger and stuff, and Ogre.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it was a good time. So that's kind of, I forget what led to that, but that's kind of.
Well, we were talking about just conventions, the Cinema Wasteland thing,
Yeah. And I utilize, because, that's me,
right.
utilize the domain Cleveland, and I get media.
Yeah.
I don't get to interview any of these people. We're not there yet, but we get in for free.
Okay.
And we get to take, some pictures. I still pay for the autograph, or if I get an autograph, or the professional pictures and stuff like that.
They don't provide like the press pass like they would like a.
They are providing that, but they you can only talk to this artist that drew this character, or you can only talk to the anime guy.
Oh, because that's who they're. That's who they want to promote. Yeah.
I mean, I guess I wish I kind of regret not getting the voice of Squidward was at this last one.
Oh yeah.
And if I could have got him to do a promo ID for Today's Boondoggle in Squidward's voice, that may have been cool. But I regret not doing that one.
That's funny. So so you're doing the boondoggle thing now. You're doing the. So are you still? You still have a domain. Cleveland is still a domain, right?
Yeah. It's domaincle.com now. Like when everything started going to CLE, and that whole thing, like sub CLE, when the airport, went CLE and everything was just
well, that's why I did it. I mean, I worked at the airport for 25 years, so it's like it was just for me, but airport codes became popular for some reason.
Yeah, instead of having the whole domaincleveland.com website, I was just like, we'll just go to CLE because that's the thing now,
Well, what drives me crazy is everyone says sub-CLE.
Sub-CLE.
Or CLE. Like I was working somewhere and there was a drink called the CLE, you know. And well, I can say I don't work there anymore, the Ritz-Carlton. And everyone would call it the CLE. And I'm like, no, it's the CLE, and it just sub-CLE. I'm like, no, it's not the same. Sub-CLE is So okay, so it's so what, you gave up the old domain, I guess, the website?
Yeah, it's now domaincele.com. I mean, kind of to
still news and
it's Domain Cleveland Entertainment would be the long version, because that way, like I said, I didn't want to just pigeonhole just being Cleveland, because. Nothing wrong with that. We have a very, like you've used many times, incestuous pool of musicians here that we can talk to. But for what I was going for and everything, to be more welcomed by like the big label PR people, I want to make it so I'm not only when they're coming to Cleveland. Like one of my visions is down the line, hopefully friggin' gas prices turn around and shit like that. Well, I wanted to just like sell my house. Now my youngest has graduated, sell my place, buy a motorhome, be like Cousin Eddie. I'll come home for the holidays to see my family, but travel and like hit festivals,
right?
And do a traveling podcast, traveling boondoggle.
I think they call that van life now.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I'm still single, It's I still, I guess, haven't got to that place yet where I'm a stable, compatible. I'm compatible, but compatible mate. So I would just let me go travel, live by in a van down by the river or whatever with my dog.
So
and do some podcasts.
I mean, you can get like a little remote thing. I have the full capabilities of going remote. With this thing, so if I ever need to, I guess, but it's just so much.
Zoom.
I got the little
H6,
little recorder, and then
that's basically what I use. At home.
So, but I think just having people here and just being able to speak to them in a comfortable, quiet environment, I think it lends itself to some good conversation,
This is really cool. You know what? Maybe the jacket wasn't a good idea because I'm starting to freaking sweat.
Well, I had to turn the AC off because
because then it makes too much noise.
It makes too much noise, and for the people that are just listening, like on Spotify or iTunes or whatever, you ever listen to something? It's just an annoying sound.
Dude, I have many episodes like that with the annoying sound, and I'm trying to do like, what the hell is the noise reduction thing on Audacity?
It only works so well.
Yeah. Like, especially when we go back to some of the audio episodes when I had the Zoom at, like, in the media tent at the festivals, and you hear all the conversations in the background and shit like that. But it is what it is.
That kind of environment.
Different environment.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's almost expected, like, if you're in that kind of setting. And there's, when I was working at the Ritz-Carlton, people would come in there and do, like, they have their little podcast thing and set up, like, a little thing there. I was like, that's pretty cool. But I think there's something to be said for just, having in-person. Like, I don't care. I did the Frank Kavanaugh thing, remote. Obviously, he lives out in the country. You said you'd been out. And,
nice farm.
So I had to figure that out. So it took a couple extra weeks just, getting the logistics on how to do all that.
Well, and for me, like, I mean, before I was just doing, like, everything was audio. So it's like I'd get phone interviews, and I had to hook up the Zoom to the phone, and, and it was cool at first, because, like I said, it's portable. I could take it to the festivals and hand somebody a microphone and whatever. But then, when I saw, Chris Aiken, who's been a good friend of mine for a number of years, and what he does, and it's, and then Frank also, when we were talking, he was doing his Full Metal MAGA at the time too, and everything was remote, and I was just like, what do I got to do? He's like, get on Zoom, and how do I do that? And it was a nice upgrade for all these people that I spoke with on the phone, all these musicians I had phone conversations with. How many people are going to just go listen to the audio? I don't know if my podcast is attracting enough people to kind of, I hope people will go, on whatever podcast platform you use, Todays Boondoggle, and follow and subscribe and listen and download and all that good stuff. Leave us a 5-star review. But, to build something, I think people need to see it too, and I liked what I do like this, what you're doing here, but for, with the connections I got, I can't get some of these guys to fly in and hang out in my basement or whatever.
Yeah,
so one of the dudes I become friends with, who just was in town on tour, came over to hang out for a little bit, but we didn't do an interview, and we're still we'll schedule that. But the StreamYard, people need to see,
Yeah, I agree. I think, it's cool, like, if you're at work, sometimes, I will pop on Spotify or whatever and listen to something. But if I have an opportunity, and if it's somebody that I'm really interested in, I do want to see it.
There's something, too, with, I know, like, for me, I like to see facial expressions. I like to read body language a little bit too. I'm always like trying to look deeper. Is this person bullshitting me? Is this person authentic? Do I feel this? This person just throwing up an act or whatever? Because there's a lot of good actors out there.
Oh, I'm sure. And I think that's with this thing. I'm basically, I look at it. Like, I don't look at this as an interview. I don't look at it as like a podcast or whatever. I look at it as I'm just documenting things in Cleveland. Yeah. And if somebody wants to lie about it, whatever, I don't care,
Yeah, like, I mean.
And why would you lie, really?
Yeah. And, like, I was kind of worried, coming in, like, am I going to be able to remember stuff? Am I going to be,
Well, I don't know. We're an hour and a half into this, and I think there hasn't been a loss for words yet. So
yeah, like like we got to come up with bullet points or blah 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 because I want to touch this, and this. I mean, we could go on for another hour.
Right.
I'm pretty sure there's so much more, but I don't like. The old me would be like the drunkalogs or whatever, bumping up the tales, the sea stories, I guess, like that. It's just like I just try and be as honest person as I can right now about, who I was, who I am today.
Right.
And, I don't want to talk about other people and things that I don't know as fact. Really. I just say this was my experience.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And, again, that's what I like about this. I just ask questions. I do try not to interject.
I do want to, and I know, I guess this is the name drop episode.
Yeah.
It's like I'm just the guy that knows.
That's what this is for.
Yeah. But I do want to say, I want to share an awesome story about Tommy Schaffner.
Okay.
And he as soon as I say this, if Tommy watches this, he'll be like, I know what story he's going to tell. Because I love that dude so much, man. He was one of the guys that, when I would, Keratoma and Garmonbozia would be pretty always willing to play shows for me.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of fun together. I say, but he's a grown ass man.
Right.
He's got a great heart. Him, Steve Rockhorse, great guys. JC.
I think everybody up at LBM too is awesome.
I've never been there.
Yeah, well, obviously.
yeah. They do a meeting? No, but so anyway, so it was I think it was a dollar bill birthday bash.
Yeah,
and freaking. I'd always throw concerts for my birthday shows, and this one was, I believe, I don't, was it a birthday show? Or it might have been this. No, this was the suicide prevention one, because if it was the birthday thing, he probably would have went and took care of himself as he should have. But I think it was suicide prevention one, and Garmonbozia and Keratoma played back to back. And Tommy's in both bands, obviously. They're the headliners.
Yeah.
And Tommy, like me, is very passionate about mental health. And, we've all lost people close to us to suicide. Being my nephew, Ryan, who I started a fund in his name and did the annual suicide prevention concerts. That's a whole other thing we can get into, too. But anyway, at this particular show, friggin' Keratoma's playing. Second song in, I believe. Bill jumps off. The what is it called, the mount, the whatever.
Right.
And turns around, comes down. Tommy's right there, and his guitar or bass or what, I forget what Bill was playing at the time, friggin' catches Tommy right in the nose.
Oh no.
Busts Tommy's nose open. And this is the second song of Keratoma. And they still had a whole Garmonbozia set to play. So busted bloody friggin' nose. And Tommy played both sets all the way till the end before going to receive medical care at the hospital.
Oh, wow.
Dude, I get hit in the nose and my eyes start watering. I'm like, ooh,
right.
I can't breathe, all that stuff,
Well, the show must go on.
Dude, yeah. And, and I don't, I won't say it was like, from a musician standpoint, like I'm just got to play for, the show. I think it was also because I know how passionate he is about mental health and what that show was about and what we were trying to do and him wanting to be a part of that. And for it, I'll always love and appreciate him, knocking it out like a warrior that night for that.
No, I don't know if I told this or not, but when he came on to do this, I think we were talking for over an hour, and then my computer just shut down.
No.
Erased everything. So we had to go back, and he was so cool. He's like, no, this happens, man. He helped me, work out whatever problem I had, and everything. He's a great dude, man.
Such a good dude, man. Yeah, I always, like him and Stevie, like growing up, being around the Mushroomhead crew, like, I saw those guys come in as youths, growing to men, but always talented.
Yeah.
It's funny because I did have JC on to talk about, what him and Tommy are involved with their Control Your Narrative wrestling thing now. And JC brought up like our very first time we met, he was 14 years old, and we were at the Detroit Mushroom Head, level 5, I think it was, their place. And it was, Dinner was getting married at the time. He was the guitar player in Mushroom Head, Rich Moore, and there's a bachelor party. You know, so there's, not only is there a bachelor party going on, at the studio, it's Mushroom Head bachelor party. So this is like pretty wild. And then there's JC, and I think Tom and them were there too, maybe. Yeah. And I get to meet him, and he's 14 years old. Right. It's like crazy. So he brought this up. I'm like, no shit. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. No, I thought, like, back in the, Garmin Bozia and Kiritomi, I mean, they played with Mushroom quite a bit, I mean, it was almost synonymous, it seemed like a lot of times. And just, sometimes, like, the band I was playing in, we'd be on shows with them, and it was just, man, they always had, like, I always saw them as having pretty good success, at least locally, but to see, like you were talking about, to see Tommy talk about his mental, I don't like to call it like a disorder or anything, but I think everyone kind of goes through it. But it just seems to me like you and him, it's like on the outside you guys look fine, and everyone always posts those things. This is the face of suicide, everyone's all happy, whatever,
Yeah.
And it just
like Robin Williams and stuff like that.
Yeah. And it's interesting to me that, like, I see him as successful. He great attitude. Seems like he's got an attractive girlfriend, wife, whatever. What could he be bummed out about? What could you be bummed out about? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it gets that way though, and I get it.
I mean, yeah, I've struggled. I think what's really like aggravated this for me after coming home from deployment, and knowing, that there's guys that have experienced worse, so much worse than me, and seen so much worse than me. Yeah. I mean, mine goes back to like when 19 years old, I saw a guy die in front of me on an aircraft carrier, and there's a whole nother
that's rough
backstory to that whole thing, and then I compartmentalized that and numbed it, and that's when the drinking and the sex and the whatever, the chase, picked up. But, I come home from my last deployment, and there was still some more stuff, but I was comparing my experience with trauma to other people's trauma, and I was minimizing it for myself, like how I was dealing with it. Like, well, I don't want to go to talk to anybody because I'm going to sound like a pussy because this guy's held his buddy's brains in his hand, right. And stuff like that, And what do I got to talk about? So I'd minimize my own feelings and trauma and everything, but I'd always run into people like, that would say, "Well, you got all your limbs. What do you complain about? Why do you go to the VA? Why do you,
What, you mean exactly what I just did to you?"
Yeah. But I mean, I know where you're coming from, but it's just like, dude, I've had family members because of, some of the stuff I get through the VA and, the treatment and the, whatever. And they're just like, "Oh, why didn't you?" And it's just like almost compared to welfare, and it's just such a fucking insult, It's just like, nah, dude, I did my time. I earned some of these benefits, Yeah. And I guess, it's just like, well, the war still, I mean, not saying I was in combat or anything like that, but there was like, there's still fucking shit going on up here.
Sure.
That
I think if you're willing to, that's your life you're putting on the line, you should be taken care of. I'm happy to pay any amount of tax dollars to take care of people that feel I have my own beliefs about, how our government uses the military. But if
probably very similar now,
but I'm saying, like, people feel as though they're doing the right thing and they're willing to lay their lives. I think that's something I could never do, even if it's something I believed in. You know what I mean?
I mean, we all kind of take this oath. We raise our right hand, and we take this oath, and it's like, you know, they say writing a blank check, you know, for your country or whatever. And you don't decide where you get sent and what you're going to do and stuff like that. And, you know, I wasn't kicking in doors and clearing houses and shit like that, you know.
But the thought
hats off
of it
to
that
those guys.
You could have been.
I know I was doing a lot of stuff that wasn't originally, during my last deployment, I was doing a lot of stuff that really originally wasn't part of my job detail.
Oh, right.
You know, but then again, I was also getting myself out on some boondoggles, you know. But I guess it was just like, you know, where I struggle with, and I'm so passionate about, especially, you know, the veterans that don't get help or don't talk to people, and they're, you know, are dealing with their demons win, and they say we lose 22 a day, you know, to veteran suicide, you know, and I know that sometimes what I see on TV, what I see on social media, what I see people post and people's attitudes towards certain things, you know, it's heartbreaking, because I know people that didn't come home, you know, and I know part of me is still over there, you know, and I'm not trying to be overly fucking dramatic about myself or anything here, but it hurts, you know, I hurt for them, the ones whose kids are growing up without their dad and without, you know. And it hurts when your own family or close ones are like, dude, you still got, you know, dude, I mean, physically, honestly, I mean, I got friggin' herniated discs in my neck. I still wake up with, you know, I got, you know, rotator issues, got torn meniscus. I got, you know, some physical stuff I feel, and that's all well and good. You know, pain is like my new normal, you know, like we said, and I've kind of learned to try to do physical stuff, and you know, like when I was doing jiu-jitsu, and I still hope to do more of, but it's the mental thing that is just like, I don't know, you know, I'm still learning how to battle that and value myself, because when I see the how people treat, you know, like, if you don't put worth in our veterans, if you don't put worth in our military, you know, and if our higher ups, which I've seen, don't put really value or worth in us, we're just cattle and a number. Right.
I am not a number.
And you know, and that was what I experienced at 19 years old when this guy, you know, basically got blown overboard in front of me during night ops, and they sent search and rescue out to retrieve him. They drop a beacon down to where he's floating. Then they decide to land 2 planes, and then they go back, and his body's gone. You know, I don't know if he was alive or dead, falling off the height of an aircraft carrier, getting blown overboard the way he did. You know, happened all right in front of me.
Ever find him?
No. So, you know, like I said, they fucking search and rescue goes out. The helicopter goes out. They drop a beacon down in a little like ring or whatever.
What does that mean? I don't know.
You know, life preserver. Like,
I
mean, we were wearing vests that automatically ignite when you hit the water anyway. Okay. But like I said, I don't know with impact from the aircraft carrier if he was alive or dead or not. You know. Right. But they go over and they drop the beacon to mark the spot where he's at. Yeah. I think they should have just grabbed him right away, let those planes fly a little bit longer, grabbed him, retrieved him, live or dead. You know, we bring the body back. They didn't do that. They chose to just drop a beacon. We'll come back for you. Hold up. Land 2 planes. And then when they go back, he's gone. They couldn't find the body. That fucked me up. Yeah. Because I'm 19 years old and thinking I'm doing this great. You know, I might have still been 18 at the time. I don't know. But, you know, like, I'm valuable. I'm important. I'm doing something for my country, you know. Right. And then I'm like, I guess I am pretty empathic or whatever. I'm sitting there in my rack that night, can't sleep, thinking, what if he was alive, dude? And it was night, you know? So it's like your only source of life is the light on the aircraft carrier, and it's just slowly going away. And you're like, where are you going?
Think that way, dude. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That shit fucked me up.
I wish
that was the beginning, and then, you know, this last deployment and some of the stuff there, and I'm just like, to see people like say, "Oh, you got all your parts. What's wrong with you? What's
right?"
You know, or just to see. I don't know. I get a whole other conversation about the state of our country today. I was raised my dad was a World War II Marine.
And you can go over to the Boondoggle podcast and check that out.
Yeah. You should.
No, I'm happy to talk about whatever.
I don't want to bring this down or whatever.
Well,
but I'm just like, it is. You know, I don't want people to kiss my ass or whatever because of serving. I just want people to maybe be as empathetic as I'm trying to be.
Yeah.
To understand them. Like,
I agree, and I'd like to say, like I said, I would never join the military. I don't believe the government uses the military in the right way. That being said, I believe the people that are doing it, I believe they're doing it for what they believe is the right reason. I believe those people deserve every benefit. Like you said, it's welfare and you don't deserve it. To me, I'm completely, you can call me a lefty, whatever, but I believe you should take care of those people that are willing to lay their life on the line for I don't even think it's for the country. It's for the politicians that are benefiting and profiting off of this. Yep. And there are these people that are willing to just lay their life on the line, and you don't even want to take care. I think you deserve everything. I think you deserve, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think you should see it as like, oh, you know, I'm taking from the system by getting mental health or whatever, you know, therapy or whatever. Like you know, I think I think that's not just deserve. It is deserved. It's, you know what I mean? I don't know.
It should. I mean, if you're gonna train us up to go to war, you should kind of you know, you should fix us when we come back broke.
I totally agree. Totally agree.
And like, I mean, you know, like I told you this morning, I went to a class that the VA offered, mindful gardening. You know? It's something new that they're doing. They're finally getting outside the box. What is that, because
like bonsai trees. Are you trimming?
Well, today was the first class, but it just kind of teaching us on how gardening and getting out and in nature and just working with our hands and stuff takes us out of our head. I'll
show you my garden when we get.
Yeah. And it, you know, so I'm learning. I called him and I was just like, look, man, I'm still suffering from, like, I don't breathe right. It's ingrained in me that I'm shallow. We were talking about this, you know, before we went on. You know, I'm like one of those, like, heavy in the neck and shoulder tension, tight, you know, like I'm sitting here in my friend's studio having a conversation with my friend. I don't think, you know, Taliban's jumping out of that room right there, you know, that you have any ill intentions here for me. I'm safe. But sometimes you just, your mind keeps you in that fight or flight, you know, and that shallow breathing. And I'm just like, when I do go to places with crowds, like the concerts I used to enjoy, and I would throw a couple down to relax and enjoy myself. Now I'm learning to try and enjoy myself without throwing down. But my problem is I got to be mindful about, you're safe, everything's cool, take some deep breaths and breathe fully. And then that's like we were talking about with the releasing, you know, letting go of stuff. You know, I've ate a lot of garbage over the years, but I honestly strongly believe a lot of why I carry so much weight here in my gut is because I just can't let go and breathe right.
Well, I think, release.
And then when I finally hit that, I'm going to probably take a big dump like your roommate and lose.
He's not my roommate. He's just a guest.
Oh, whatever. All right.
I live alone. Any attractive females out there? No. But no. Yeah. I mean, they do. I mean, there's a lot to that. Stress does put on weight, you know, and it makes you process things differently, you know.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, and then, you know, well, what do you have to be stressed about, dude? You got this, that, and the other, you know?
Right.
And some of these people I know are saying this not meaning to come across, you know, they're just like
me.
Yeah.
You know.
Like, I mean, I think I got a decent circle of people that want to see me do better and have my best interests in mind. You know, like I mentioned, my trainer, Ray Terry, he's, you know, good dude, got a good heart, can come across as a fucking dick a lot of times, but sometimes, but I know his heart, you know, he wants to see me do well, you know, but sometimes just the approach, you know.
What is it, you know, when, you know, you obviously you're dealing with something.
And real quick before I forget this thought, you know, I overthink a lot too. Right. So I'll make up like meanings, and like your words can come. You know, I'll forget that. You know, you're saying something with the best intentions, but to me, I'm hearing it a certain way,
I understand.
and overthinking it, and then making it into something else, and that's totally not what you meant. That's another reason why I guess looking at people in body language is a good
for sure.
thing for me.
I was going to ask you, like, so if there is a light at the end of the tunnel, if you see a light at the end of the tunnel, what is that light? Like, what is it?
Like what I'm hoping for my life and
guess
future? You know? You know, there was a point where I always thought finding a partner, you know, finding that special someone to walk through would complete me, you know?
Well, we are social creatures. We need interaction with people. So that,
I mean, for so long, unfortunately, for so long for me, it was just like, you know, just for sex, you know? Right. And,
well, that's you know, testosterone.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I don't still want sex, but I want.
It decreases as we're older, though.
Yeah. I would like that relationship and, you know, somebody to walk through, to go do things with, to hold hands, to help, you know, ups and downs, whatever. But I was also putting so much focus on that, like, that I needed somebody else.
Right.
You know? Now, I guess my light at I'm coming to a place where it's like acceptance that, you know, if I do get somebody, if I do meet that special someone, or someone wants to be with me, you know, they'll come into my life. But I want to get to that place where I don't feel that loneliness, or that I'm happy with myself where I'm at, you know. The other light at the end of the tunnel for me, though, that I made my agreement with my higher power every time I screwed up with the health things that I was telling you about that I've been dealing with, the ups and downs there, is just like, just keep me around to walk my daughters down the aisle.
Right.
That's the one major request.
If they want to.
Yeah, you know. But that's my one major request.
Yeah.
You know, I pray that they meet their soulmate or whatever, their person, and I get to hand them off and then be like, you're in charge now, you can take care of them, and then I can ride off into the sunset or whatever. Not that, you know, I mean, I want to grow old, I want to be maybe a grandpa and stuff like that, but, you know, everything today, I don't know, you know, but that's my light at the tunnel right now. It's not about me, it's about how I leave my daughters and their future.
No, that's cool. You know, and you said, and that's what happens when you have kids. It stops being about you, right?
Yeah,
you know?
It didn't right away with me, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know?
That's why I say, if I was younger. But, you know, I am single, and I always say I'm alone, but I'm not lonely. You know, I don't ever feel, I remember feeling that way, but I do have a lot, you know. I have people in my life that are very dear and close to me. I'm not necessarily intimate, or, you know, well, intimacy doesn't have to be sex, right? You know?
Yeah.
So, but
I'm learning that.
But, you know, I guess I'm lucky enough that I have people, really, really close friends, but I don't have like that significant
one thing
sexual partner, I guess.
Yeah, one thing that one of the many things that, like I said, once you asked me to do this, and then Frank told me about sub-CLE, and I started going down the sub-CLE rabbit hole and watching the episodes to know what I'm in for.
Which everyone should do.
Yeah, highly recommend. I liked your, I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
And my higher power is Jesus Christ. Woo, I said it. You're going to get shadow banned now. But I do like, I've followed some Buddhism. I've read up on some, and I do like, the cutting off of attachments and stuff like you've mentioned. I think all of it is kind of coming from the same place.
I agree.
And we can all learn from it. And I think I run into problem with fellow Christians that are just like, no, it's only this way, and that's it, and everything else is not. I'm like, nah, man. If our God is omnipresent or omniscient or whatever and created everything, then He created all these other ways for us to live better. But so my thing that I'm working on, and I picked up, what I liked what you said on other episodes, is just like I'm to help myself be happy by myself. I have to cut off my attachments, and that might even include, it sounds crazy, but maybe attachments to my children. I love my children. I am their father, and I will always love them. Sure. But at the same time, I got to realize that they are their own people, and also.
Well, there's a difference between controlling and caring.
Yeah. And it also, because I project a lot of my fears on my daughters a lot of times, and it's not healthy for me. It's not healthy for them, because I was a scumbag. I ran with scumbags. I know scumbags, and I've also, my time in the military and some of my clearances and some of the things I read and some of the things I was exposed to. I know what exists out in that world. So that fear lives within me a lot of times, and then I project it on my girls when they want to go downtown to go see a show, when they want to go live, like, no, this guy's going to roofie your drink and throw you in the back of a van. You're going to end up in Taiwan or something, be organs harvested or whatever. You're just fucking crazy, and I can't. I have to remember if I gotta I gotta cut the attachments. I gotta trust my higher power that like there's a plan for me, and I get in the way a lot of times. There's a plan for them, and I have no control over any of that. That's where where I'm glad I'm part of the recovery group, where I get to say the Serenity Prayer often, because I need that reminder.
I believe wholeheartedly in that Serenity Prayer, because that is, let go of the things you can't control. That's definitely the way I see a happy life going. But Dude,
I was saying that so much during the pandemic, during lockdown and everything too. I was like, dude, what do I have control over right now?
And you kind of rolled your eyes when you talked about your faith, and I for a long time, I was like militant atheist, and I definitely. I was raised Catholic, whatever.
Yeah, me too.
And I
altar boy and all that stuff.
I never made it there, but yeah, as somebody said it to me one time, and this is the way I see it, and whenever somebody says that they practice religion, whatever, this is the way I see it. Somebody said there's one light, right? But every sentient being, you and I, are just a different facet on the prism. We're a different side, so we're shining a different color. So that light could be seen differently. Yeah. It is one light, but if one light shown through a prism separates into different colors. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So
that's deep.
So I've always kind of like looked at it like that, and so
dark side of the moon, man.
But you know what? We are we're at like 2 hours. I only have I don't want to bump up to the next plan on my podcast I can only do so many hours. I could probably talk to you for another 2 hours. But Bill, dude, this was awesome, dude. I'm really glad you came today because you were there. You helped. I was a struggling musician, and I got to work with you back in the day, and I thought it was a really good thing. I've seen a lot of different things, and you showed me a different way to look at things and how the whole industry works, and I thought that was really cool. And I like I said, I believed I liked what you were doing and are doing with Domain Cleveland, man. So thanks for coming by, man.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate those kind words, and it's surrounding ourselves with the right people, because sometimes I need my head pulled out of my ass to look at things from a different perspective. So I appreciate you having me on, us being able to talk real and have this conversation, and maybe I can return the favor, have you over at the Boondoggle Bunker, and
this won't be the last time you're here either, hopefully. So
this was fun, man. Thank you very much.
All right, hey, Sub CLE, we're out.
Clee.
Right.